right. I know you all have been over the last day, really looking deeply at the issue of universal design, walkability, and inclusion. And we're very, very fortunate today to have 4 really outstanding public servants to talk about what they are doing on the ground to make that a reality in for the people they represent. And what I'd like to do is take just a minute and talk about what we're going to cover in this panel, and then I'll introduce our speakers, and we'll move right into it. Lakeshore has this wonderful tagline, I guess you'd call it, and you probably heard it over the last day. There is no physical limit to human ability, which is just a wonderful direction or vision, and they prove it at Lakeshore every single day. But one thing we do know is that we're certainly capable of building limits and barriers to human ability in a lot of ways. And so the work you all are doing, being here, and all the work you're doing is starting to make that idea of unleashing human potential really alive, and that's what these folks are doing. And thanks to Amy for thinking through this panel. What we're talking about is how public spaces can support healthier outcomes for everybody, as long as you think about both health and inclusion right from the beginning. And so great public spaces allow for a healthy public life, a healthy community, and that would be social interactions, spontaneous meetings, all kinds of activities like street fairs, urban plazas, concerts, and all those things that our communities enjoy. And that requires thoughtful planning, design, cultivation, and activation, inclusion, getting people involved. And in that way, public spaces really contribute enormously to the vitality of a community. And facilitating that work requires a lot of thought about who are the people who need to be included in the conversation and in the design. And that's regardless of ability, gender identity, ethnicity, race, native origin, age, generation, sexual orientation, culture, religion, marital status, socioeconomics, and on and on and on. We want to make sure that our communities are accessible to everybody. So in thinking about that, we've asked, Amy has asked 4 public servants to be here to talk about what they already have underway. And as soon as I find my piece of paper, here we go. So I'll start down at the far end. We have, first of all, Mayor Hollie Cost, who's the mayor of the city of Montevallo. She's also a professor of special education at the University of Montevallo. And she is working to support an active lifestyle for all community members, all ages and ability levels, through establishing unique arts, recreation, sustainability, and youth initiatives. And in addition to her own active outdoor lifestyle, she can tell you about some of the amazing changes they've already had underway in Montevallo through this work. And then we have Dr. Johnny L. Smith, mayor of Jacksonville, Alabama, a beautiful city up in the northeast corner of Alabama. And Dr. Smith wants you to know that Jacksonville, which is nestled in the foothills of the Appalachians, halfway between Birmingham and Atlanta, provides easy access to these urban areas for the outdoor recreation that has developed around Jacksonville. The residents of Jacksonville are family-oriented and friendly, and he knows because in addition to being the mayor of Jacksonville, Dr. Smith retired as a professor of mathematics from Jacksonville State University. And then we have Mayor Frank Brocato, who was sworn in as the 10th mayor of Hoover, Alabama in 2016. He's a great advocate for a strong public safety system, an exceptional school system, and a need for planning in Hoover's growth. Mayor Brocato embraces the diversity of Hoover and believes that Hoover is a stronger community because of it. And he's also, as he looks to the future, he's concentrating on high-quality business with a focus on STEM development in the schools and in development in industry. And then we have Birmingham City Councilor Gerald Harris, who is not the mayor, but who is in fact the city councilor for the 5th district. He is chair of the Transportation Committee, a member of the Budget, Finance, and Planning and Zoning Committee. Also an academic. We have quite a heavy list of academics up here. He is a former clinical veterinarian for UAB, president of the Birmingham Citizens Advisory Board, and as I said, currently presides over District 5 with the Birmingham City Council. And you'll hear that Councilor Quinn has been very, very active in the passage of the Complete Streets ordinance recently. So what we'd like to do to start with is to hear from each of our panelists. And Mayor Cost, do you mind starting? And I'll get to hand you the microphone.
Thank you. Should I stand up? I'll stand up. Feel better. I'm a professor. This is what I do. I'll tell you just a little bit about Montevallo. How many of you have been to Montevallo? Oh, wow, that's great. How many of you have been there in the last 2 years? That's great, too, so I can just sit down. But Montevallo is about 12.59 square miles, but most of our population is concentrated around downtown, and we pride ourselves in being a walkable community. And we really pride ourselves because folks can literally walk from preschool to graduate school all within about 1 square mile. So we see that as our strength. And I say all folks, but that's not necessarily the case because we have not been as accessible as we need to be. So that's been a strong emphasis of ours with our downtown renovation project. We now have a fully accessible downtown, but in a concentrated area. And as I learned when we had a walkability workshop there just a couple of months ago, we're still not there. There are some pockets right around the area that still need some work. So we're focusing on those just quite diligently. So we do have our physical infrastructure that we're looking at, but we also have a lot of different initiatives we have ongoing that include our youth. And also that include our senior or our adult population. In fact, one of our professors here, Dr. Mitchell, he has only been on faculty for a few years, but he's made some pretty strong advancements. And I would say that is a great part of our strength, is the university involvement with the community. Because of the university involvement, we have several classes that we offer for the community for free, for our senior adults and also for our youth. We also are the first city in the state of Alabama to have a citywide bike share. Birmingham likes to claim that, but they call ours a bike library, but I still call it bike share. It's different. Ours is not like others. We have recycled bicycles, and so we do use those bicycles. We don't have the cart swipe there, but we have that. We also just recently had a pilot project implemented where we do have a transit system in Montevallo. Of course, it's an accessible transit system. So we're pretty thrilled with that because it enables more of our population to get from one place to the other. We're also very proud of the other cycling initiatives. We have regular bike rides throughout town. We also are looking at our needs though. In fact, with Dr. Mitchell's class, what they're doing is they're continuing with the walk audit that we did this summer that you all just participated in. They are going to put together a map really of our downtown area and identify some deficits that we have in town so that we can then start looking at the funding in order to make ourselves a lot more accessible. And I know the community member here said that he's going to help us with that as well. So looking forward to sharing some other initiatives that I'm sure I forgot to mention, but I'm going to pass the mic.
Thank you.
Excellent. She said advantage was present, standing up, but I'm going to try. The old man's going to try. So let me stand up and see how that goes. I may decide to sit back down in a minute. But you heard a pretty good description of Jacksonville, where we are. And we are a small city. But we're very fortunate in Jacksonville to have the Chief Ladiga Trail passing through our city. The city bought about 8.4 miles of the abandoned Norfolk Railroad bed with the whole purpose of converting that to an asphalt trail that would accommodate both casual and serious walkers and joggers and skateboarders and bicyclers and so forth. We developed that in 2 phases. The first phase opened in 1998, about 4.4 miles of it. About a year and a half later, we opened the other 3.8 miles. But we have a little issue with that. The 2 phases did not connect. We had about 2 miles between the 2 that was property that crossed Jackson State University. The president of Jackson State at that time did not like the idea of having a trail across his campus. So if you were going to ride our trail, you had to get off and ride across the streets, across the campus. It was real pretty big issue. But he said he thought, you know how those people are out on trails. They're pretty rough characters and all that. It'd be not good for the campus for them to be out there riding across the campus, especially since it went right by Fraternity Road. Now, I was a whole lot more concerned about what the fraternity guys would do to the trail people, not what the trail people did to them. But anyway, after about 2 years, Jackson hired a new president, and he was very open to the idea of connecting the university to the trail. And that opened about 2 years later after he became president. We got that connected. Today, Jacksonville Sports to the Trail is part of the 34-mile trail. Y'all hear me? I'm having trouble about this mic following. I forget to move it when I move my head. But that 34 miles connects the city of Anniston, the city of Weaver, the city of Jacksonville, and the city of Piedmont, if you've ever heard of any of those places. And also a portion of Calhoun County and a portion of Cleveland County and the JSU campus. So it's a pretty nice ride for 34 miles on that trail. But the nice thing, it now connects to the Silver Comet in Georgia, at the Georgia-Alabama line. So you can actually put your bicycle on the trail in Jacksonville and ride that approximately 90 miles to Atlanta. Notice I said you could do that. I definitely cannot do that. But we do have a lot of people do make that ride to Atlanta and back. And it's creating more traffic for us on the trail. So we have people coming out of Atlanta, riding over, spending the night, riding back. You know, for a small city like ours, the trail is extremely important to us. You know, I see people very frequently on that trail, walking, riding, whatever it might be. More bicycle riders probably than anything else. The people that I just know that they would be getting that exercise if they didn't have the convenience of that trail there. They would be sitting at home, probably watching TV, playing on the video games or whatever, but the convenience of the trail gets them out there. And I'm just fascinated by the activity on the trail. It stays very active, and that has to be helping the health of our community, seeing all those people out there active every day. But let me tell you, there's other advantages to the trail as well, not only just to improve the quality of life of our citizens. And it's very difficult to measure the economic impact of the trail to our community. But I think that's just pretty significant. When I look at the number of people that are coming in from out of town just to ride that trail, you know, they don't maybe stop by a restaurant, they're going to buy some gas, they're going to do something to spend all the money, maybe stay at a hotel. So it's a good tax, will help to us with that tax base. So that's very important as well. We definitely need that. And you think about the local people, you know, they're buying the trail gear, skateboards, bicycles, and all those kind of things. So the trail has a pretty significant economic impact as well. And we use that as a marketing tool as well. It's, you know, if you look at our website, you'll see that really played up, the trail. Any brochures we put out always has an emphasis on the trail. So it's very important to us. But keep in mind, if you're thinking about doing a trail, you don't already have a trail, you're expanding a trail, there are always barriers to building a trail. And some of you know that probably very well. Funding is a barrier. Obtaining rights of way is a barrier. Killing people are barriers. You know, we were very fortunate about the funding. Purchasing the property from the railroad and completing the trails was all done with grant money. And we had to do a 20% match. But that's about $600,000, which doesn't sound a lot to the city of Birmingham, Hoover. See, to Jacksonville, Alabama, that's a lot of money. Oh, sorry, 1 minute. But using the fund money made it possible to do that. And that's been in over 20 years. We had 20 years of use for that bit of money. And let me mention, the other barrier right away is just tough. If you have to deal with that, if you have to go through the process of actually taking that property, that's a real battle, particularly for politicians who don't want to make not everybody mad. And you don't make a lot of folks mad when you do that. This part out, you got to stand up and do what's best for your community. How many of you know who cave people are? You have those people? Citizens against virtually everything. We have some of those people. And you start developing a trail, you're going to find out who they are. We had a councilman that thought developing a trail was just absolutely unbelievable waste of public funding. So we actually had a council member who was very vocal against the trail and voted against anything that came up that had anything to do with the trail. So there are difficulties. I've already run out of time. But let me mention to you too, another big barrier. If you're doing a trail, remember about maintenance. You got to maintain that trail too. We had to resurface ours one time. Just resurfacing that thing was $340,000. So they are obstacles. I'm sorry, I ran.
Thank you. Really helpful to hear. And some of these issues we'll talk about in question and answer too. Thank you, Mayor Brocato.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me down today. I appreciate that. Of course, Hoover is, we're about 90,000 people, about 50 square miles, and we're now the 6th largest city in the state. Something happened overnight. Hoover just kind of exploded. We're, 50 years old, and we are probably a perfect example of suburban sprawl. So there's not, there's not a lot of connectivity. There really wasn't a lot of thought when Hoover was developed over the last 50 years. Now, we have some absolutely beautiful neighborhoods throughout our city, and they're, wonderful citizens. They're safe, they're clean, they're community-oriented. We have all of those things, but what you don't find in Hoover, you don't find sidewalks, and so it's hard to go back in what I call, I looked this term up when I was running. I didn't look it up as I was researching some things. Retrofitting suburbia. How do you take a suburban area and bring in some of those urban mixtures that people really are enjoying today and they really want, like sidewalks and trail systems. So what we had to do is to convince, number one, the development community that when they build communities in our city now, residential or commercial, they have to have that walkability in mind. And so you'll see the newer shopping centers, we like to call them villages now, you'll see that they do have walkability. And if there's a neighborhood even reasonably close by, it will connect with sidewalks. So we're focusing a great deal on that aspect. And we have many, many miles of sidewalks on the board right now that we're working on. But one thing you'll hear from each of these folks that they can talk about is their downtown. So can anybody tell me where downtown Hoover is? I'm still looking for it. I've been there 45 years. So that is one of our initiatives, to identify an area that we can essentially develop some type of village center that would encourage walking from your home to a restaurant. We think we have that area identified, and we're going to work real hard on that. And, as the day goes on, I'll be glad to talk about some other initiatives that we have going as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor O'Quinn.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Birmingham is, of course, late in 2017, right after I got elected, passed a complete streets ordinance, which was, I know probably half the people in this room were involved with. I recognize a lot of you. And I think that was really, from a transportation equity standpoint, that was a historic moment for the city of Birmingham, because it really mandates that we approach Hall transportation projects from the perspective of making our streets complete, meaning that they are accessible to pedestrians, bicyclists, transit users, and so on and so forth. And we really are, coming out of several decades of our society where that has not been the priority. So I think that, that in particular has been a historic moment. I can't tell you how encouraged I am that I now feel like I have a partner within City Hall in Mr. James Fowler, who's our director of our new Department of Transportation. I was planning on pushing things to the limit, and then James came along and he's like kind of set the bar in a new place. So I feel like I've got a strong ally in James. And we, quite frankly, we've got a lot of challenges in terms of retrofitting our city. But we've got a lot of good things underway. Just when it comes to our sidewalks, we recently had a sidewalk master plan completed, and that identified $10 million worth of work on existing sidewalks that we need to do just to bring them into compliance with ADA regulations. That's not building an inch of new sidewalk, that's just making the ones that we have accessible to everyone. So we've got a lot of challenges there. Of course, we are in the midst of several big projects with regard to the Red Rock Ridge and Valley Trail system. I think over the next 10, 15 years, you'll see that system built out to a large degree, and I'm really excited about that. I'll come back to Dr. Smith's point. I think that these things are economic development projects. I can tell you that I've been to Jacksonville mostly because of the Chief Ladiga Trail on several occasions, and I know that that's the case for a lot of my friends who ride bikes. We probably wouldn't be in Jacksonville if it was not for the Chief Ladiga Trail. So I view that the local projects in Birmingham the same way. On the flip side, I think it is important in terms of the health of our citizens, because a lot of the diseases that we are dealing with and have to deal with financially are diseases that are related to obesity and inactivity. And that's because we have in our infrastructure disincentivized walking and biking and doing things that would otherwise prevent those types of conditions.
Thank you. And, Councilor Quinn, I think you have started discussing one of the questions I think most of the people in this room would like to hear the answer to, and that is, how do you get public servants like yourselves who make this a priority? Why? And I would like to ask each of you, why have you chosen to make this a priority?
Well, since I've got the mic, I'll start. So for me, I think the desire really started because I was one of those people who have been for a long time, one of those people who've been trying to use an alternative mode. I have been a bike rider as an adult for the past 20 years and have experienced a lot of not feeling included in our infrastructure, feeling that folks are trying to marginalize me. And so I really, the term transportation equity, I think is something that's relatively a new phrase. And I'm really passionate about that, and I think it comes from my roots as a bike rider.
Right. So, Mayor, what makes you put this as a priority?
Well, I grew up on the south side of Birmingham. I grew up around sidewalks and in a neighborhood that you could walk to the drugstore with a soda fountain, or go get you a hamburger. Or, we grew up in that environment. I could walk anywhere. I mean, Birmingham was very well connected. And so when I got to Hoover 45 years ago, I don't necessarily say I was thinking of it then, but as I grew older, I looked at the environment that I wanted to live in. And so my last move was to an environment that we had sidewalks and we can walk and do those things that I was talking about. But I think that sidewalks just promote so many great things for a community, in addition to just getting people out, moving and walking around their neighborhood, but it gives you an opportunity to strike up a conversation with your neighbors and just to get out and learn and visit and enjoy the people around you. And you see it, I mean, that's just the way our society is moving as well. I think the youngsters that are coming up now like the sidewalk idea, they like biking, they like walking, they like trails and things like that. But I'm no youngster. That's exactly what I want as I grow older, to be able to, I want to live in that type of environment that's walkable and safe and provides that type of thing that I grew up with. So
Yes, thank you. That's a great story.
You know, I have to be honest, when we first started talking about purchasing the railroad to build a trail, I did not think about the health aspects that much at that time. I was approaching from the economic development side. I was not mayor then, I was on the council at that time, and we bought that property in 1994, so there wasn't as many trails, there wasn't as many emphasis on trails then. So I saw it as an opportunity to bring a little something to our city that might bring people to our town for economic development. But then once we got the trail, and I saw the benefit of all the people out there on the trail exercising, it did affect the health of those folks. And then since then, we've built a spur. We have a high school and elementary school, one of each is all we have in town. But they're across the street from each other. They're about a half a mile from the trail. So we built a spur from the trail to those schools, so kids can ride bicycles to school. And we built a spur from the trail to our community center, so they can ride from school to the community center back and forth. And then we just recently, well, 2 years ago, built a 1 mile spur from Chief Ladder Trail that reaches up toward our downtown area, with the whole idea to give people that ride it regularly something a little different, but also the idea of getting these folks off the trail up there where there's been money. Next time you come to Jackson.
Back to the economic development. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm a nature lover and a tree hugger, just from the very beginning. And my bike is my primary mode of transportation. I also have a little scooter that I'll kick around, and horrify my children when they see me riding around town on it. But I'd rather be outside than inside. And so when I first started running for city council, and these two gentlemen approached me, both in their 70s, I guess at the time, they wanted to build a trail system in the city of Montebello. And I was just thrilled. I thought, this is wonderful. So I got to be involved in that project from the very beginning, and that really brought in so many like-minded people just to get engaged, get on board. And so now we have this great trail system that connects multiple parks. It goes through downtown, and so every opportunity we get, we add in another little piece of greenery. In fact, downtown, when we were building our Main Street project, we put in 2 pocket parks, and we literally saved Paradise and tore out a parking lot downtown. So that's what really motivated me, is just kind of my love for biking and nature and outdoors, and then just seeing how many people in our community embrace that, especially with the university being there.
You know, when we did the work with Red Mountain Park, I did a lot of reading on the economic benefits of building parks and recreation in the outdoor. And clearly, it is an enormous economic benefit. However, first you have to pay for it, and then you have to maintain it. And so I'd like to hear from you all about how do you make that happen? How do you find the money to fix all the sidewalks or whatever you need to do? And then how do you manage to maintain these amenities?
Well, I think you're exactly right. Your point about maintaining what we have is critical. In fact, our trail there were some flaws in design from the very beginning, and because of that, we have some erosion problems. So significant chunks of the trail are falling in the creek. So that's been a challenge that we're still trying to address. But we have this great funding initiative in the city of Montevallo. It's a cooperative district where we have the city, the county, and the university. And everything we do together as partners. And so we're able to really leverage those funds. Secure grants. We also, when I first got elected as mayor, we had a $5.5 million capital improvement project, and so we've really been able to maintain the focus through that. As far as maintaining the parks, maintaining the trails, we do have some adopted sections of the trail, so you can't underestimate the value of good volunteers. It's just a piece of what we've been doing.
Thank you. I know Charles McKinney was here yesterday, and I've heard him talk about how much the city of New York parks, when he was the park commissioner, was actually supported by volunteers just taking on chunks of things.
I have to say this. There's this gentleman, his name's Gerald Harris, and he is the volunteer extraordinaire. I mean, he's this gentleman who has a significant disability. He fell out of a tree 40 feet high. They thought he was going to die, and now he literally has to move all the time, or his muscles will atrophy. He works for us, volunteers for us in excess of 40 hours a week, maintaining our community like nobody else. It's just amazing.
Thank you.
I guess as far as the maintaining the trail, we just do a lot of that out of our general fund, but we do still try to get grants to help with those kind of things. Small towns rely an awful lot on grants, and there are a lot of grant funds out there. It's gotten a little tighter in recent years, but there are funding out there. We do a lot of maintenance on our own, take care of it ourselves. You know, there's some surprising things about the maintenance that I never thought about until we had the trail. But roots, roots will destroy your trail. You know, when people ride bicycles, the tires that big, and you get a root once the pavement up, it's an issue. Kudzu. I thought that kudzu had a problem. But you cut the kudzu back, by the time you get home, it's back over the trail. So just stuff like that, you just don't think about it, and it does take some effort to do that, and funding as well.
Thank you.
So most of it's taken care of out of our general fund as well. And we have a great park and rec group and a great public works department. And so it just, just like everything else, you have to budget for it, and then you have to prioritize for it. But at the end of the day, it's the squeaky wheel syndrome. We have, for instance, there was a park that over on the eastern side of Hoover that I had not been in that park, but one of the city councilmen had. He walked it, he called me up immediately, and he said, "This is just horrible." So I went over and looked at it, and it probably would have never been put in this year's budget. But it's somebody paying attention, somebody pushing for it, and I can tell you that he probably would have voted on the whole budget if we had not put that in.
So that's how you get things done.
You gotta get it.
I think there's all sorts of innovative ways. We just had our council meeting this morning. I seem to recall that we put $500,000 out of our budget surplus towards sidewalk repair. So we're inching along. And but I will point out that sidewalks and trails are a heck of a lot less expensive to maintain than roadways are. There's just no comparison. And so I think it's a good investment, and because of the economic development aspects, they do pay for themselves.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing from all this is looking for people to choose as public servants who are not only public spirited as you all are, but who have a passion for the outdoors and for healthy communities and connectivity and all the things that you all have talked about. And then the money has to come from somewhere, and that requires, there Brocato, as you just said, that requires squeaky wheels. So how do you all come up with the partnerships and the consensus and the squeak in order to support you in making this a priority?
Well, I'll use an example as one of the ways these types of things come about. So Hollywood Boulevard, between Homewood and Mountain Brook Village, there's a bridge that goes over 280 that is not accessible to anything except cars. And Councilor Jennifer Andrus in Homewood, one of her big campaign issues was getting a pedestrian bridge built right there to accommodate all of the pedestrians and runners that want to go between, downtown Homewood and Mountain Brook Village. So largely because of her efforts and her advocacy, she has assimilated, the funding from a variety of sources, worked with her folks in City Hall, collaborated with us in Birmingham and Mountain Brook, and really established a cooperative. Actually, what we're proposing to do is to establish a capital improvement cooperative that will make this project happen.
Thank you. That's, that idea of persistently and patiently bringing people together to get something done is pretty powerful. Mayor?
Well, Hoover has always focused again on quality of life. So our city council, past and present, they've always, wanted to make sure that the standard was high. And the standard remains high when you can build something, but if you don't improve it, fix it when it's broken, then you really have created a real problem. So, it's just cooperation among councilors and the mayor and setting priorities and, working together to get a project complete. And it helps too when it comes to funding. Certainly we do as much as we can on the inside with our budget, but it's good to have partners. And as Councilor Quinn said, that Homewood, Mountain Brook, and Birmingham are working together to accomplish this. And we certainly do the same things with surrounding cities and the city of Birmingham. We're all pretty close. But we also have the county is a great advocate that works with us to help us accomplish a lot of these.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think the squeaky wheel thing probably worked for us more than anything else. We have a group of folks in the city that are really heavy trail users, and that trail is very important to them. And if things are not maintained properly, they'll be at council meetings, and elected officials got to get elected again. They want to continue to serve, so they really listen to that very, very much. And we also have great cooperation between the cities because the trail connects Anniston, Clear, Jacksonville, Piedmont. So we're having an issue in one part of that. It affects everybody. So we have good cooperation on a lot of the things we have to do as well with all the cities involved.
Thank you.
On one level, we really looked at our strategic plan. We're an Alabama Community of Excellence, and so they've been very instrumental in helping us to develop our strategic plan and then also stick to the strategic plan, implement that strategic plan. So we have the plan, and we're always looking toward the plan in any financial decision that we make. Our Regional Planning Commission has been fantastic in working with us on that, also Shelby County. So we have just some really great partnerships that we rely on tremendously. And then as we look internally, what we have are just some incredible citizens, and then we have some good structures internally. So we have a trail committee. The trail committee meets regularly. They advise us. Every council member has a specific area that they're designated to work with, and so they report, and then that's how we can secure funding for some of these needs. So really just staying the course, and we try to be proactive rather than reactive, so we regularly monitor our sidewalks, we monitor our trails to determine and identify what those needs are.
Thank you. We've got about 10 left, and what I'd like to do is ask each one of you to anything I haven't asked you that you really want to be able to say, and also tell us just a little bit about what your hopes for the future are. Where do you see this going in the community?
Okay. Well, one of my priorities really is youth engagement. It's all well and good for a bunch of old people like us to want a healthy community and to try to build this great infrastructure. But if we're not getting the kids engaged from a very young age, then it's not going to matter to them. We want to know what the community needs to look like to them in order for them to want to stay here. So I think it's critical that we get them involved in the decision phases. So that's something that's really important to us, is getting our youth involved, and we do that in Montevallo by having a junior city council. They are the voice of the community. The junior mayor sits alongside our standing city council at each and every meeting, and our junior city council members then work with the junior mayor, who will report to us on issues of importance to them. So we want to make sure that we're addressing some of those issues with them. And then getting out to the schools, working effectively with the principals.
Thank you.
I think the thing I'd like to mention is emphasize the importance of the trail. You know, health, obviously, economic development, obviously, but the thing that probably stands out to me more than anything else, I'll mention a particular family. I see that family on the trail a lot. It's a man, his wife, and 2 children. I remember seeing them when they were pulling one of the kids behind the bike on the carrier, and one of them had the other one in the backpack on the back. I now see them as teenagers, all of them still out there riding on the trail. You know, seeing those families out there, we're fortunate that the trail goes by one of our parks where there's play equipment and restrooms and all that stuff. And see them ride their bicycles, not just that family, but a lot of people riding their bicycles, stopping at the park, having a picnic. It's kind of like the MasterCard, you know, little commercial they have. It's priceless. I mean, I don't think you put a price on that. So I guess the point I wanted to make, we talked about the barriers, we talked about, you know, having to maintain the trail, talk about the funding and all those things. But whatever you have to do, after 20 plus years of having the trail, I tell you, it's worth it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Just to change up a little, just want to tell you about a little project we have going on, and who many of you may have read, we invested about $80 million in a sports complex out by the Met. And when I came into office, that wasn't built. They passed it before I came in, and then built it, but they started building it when I came into office. And as part of that, there was a playground there. Previous to that, I talked to an individual about that had a daughter with a disability, and he talked to me about a playground and a universal playground. I said, well, Dustin, we've got universal playgrounds at Hoover. He said, no, you don't understand. He said, that's not what I'm talking about. So we talked further about it, and so he said, you got to, what I'm talking about is you got to build a playground if you want to do this, where you get input from the community and let them tell you what you need. And so, just so happened, we were going to build a playground out at the Met, part of this $80 million project. And we had about $800,000 allocated to that. So we went on a mission to build this wonderful playground that would address a universal playground that would address people with disabilities, people with sight impairment, people with hearing impairment, people with autism. A universal playground. It's about 22,000 square feet, where when this should be done in December. It's about a $2 million project. And so what you'll see in December is that these children will be able to play with their siblings that may not have any sort of disability. You'll see children coming out with their parents that may have a disability of some sort, and now they can play on this playground with them. It even has a zip line, all sorts of stations that will be really unique to the entire metro area. We travel throughout the southeast, and we've not been able to find anything quite like this. And so the splash pad is going to be unique. It's going to have a zip line. It's going to have a changing station that will accommodate adults, where the table you can raise or lower the table so it'll accommodate parents that may be in wheelchairs and have to change the children or even adults that need to be changed. And it's something that we approached as not for Hoover, but the entire metropolitan area. It's been a cooperative effort. Like I said, it's about $2 million, and we raised $1.2 million from the county, the state, many different foundations gave, as well as our county commission, and, as well as many businesses in Hoover. So it's something that we're excited about and looking forward to have open in December.
That really sounds exciting. Thank you.
So the thing that we haven't talked about yet that's really the most exciting for me is where technology is going to take us in the next 20 years in terms of mobility. I think we're just on the cusp of a transformation. The innovations in mobility that are coming forward are really going to cause a transformation in the physical infrastructure of our city. It's going to open up opportunities for lots of folks because the cost of mobility will decrease dramatically. Safety is going to improve dramatically. So those things are just really exciting to me.
Yeah, and important to be considered as an explorer. We know that there's so many things that you all have talked about that I think will be so helpful to the folks in this room about how do you engage your public servants around, how do you find the public servants who are engaged around these issues, and how do you pay for this? I certainly hear a lot about patience and persistence, and a little bit about squeak too, and that's an important thing to know. So before we thank the panel, I think we have time for one or two questions from the audience, if anybody has a question. Yes?
Really not a question, but just a comment to Dr. Smith. I want to thank you for your efforts in bringing the trail to fruition. As somebody that has been, thank you. I was just saying, I was thanking Dr. Smith for his efforts in bringing the Chief Ladaga Trail to Alabama, because I'm at Lakeshore Foundation, and twice a year we take a field trip where we take various bikes that we have for people with different issues, and we come out to Jacksonville to the community center and use your spur to get to the trail. And then we take a ride on the trail, anywhere from a few miles for some people to I've gone as far as 30 miles on it. And it's fantastic. I mean, just be able to get out in that environment is really, quality of life improvement that you've afforded some of us has been fantastic. So thank you.
Glad you take advantage of it. And I hope you notice that we've worked real hard to make it accessible in a lot of different places. Community center being one,
Yes.
several places where it's very
Yes.
easy to accept.
It's exciting to hear the wonderful things that are happening. It's not lost on me that you're all, minus Jacksonville, that you're all connected to independent governments in the greater Birmingham area. And what's our biggest area of hope in terms of all of the communities that are next to one another, and how we might, what's the next neat thing that might happen that interconnects through all of the city governments and all of the people in the greater Birmingham area? Great.
Let me see if I can find that answer. Well,
I started to ask what's the biggest challenge, but I decided to quit.
let me say that I think there are some mayors that have been around a while, but there are a lot of new mayors in the Birmingham and Hoover metropolitan area, by the way. That's there are a lot of new mayors in the metro area, and we are working together to find those common grounds that we can work the things that we can do together to improve the entire metro area. And so I think that's kind of what you're asking, but we've got a meeting next week, and we'll sit down and we're going to start talking about this. Everything from 911 to economic development, working together on, we actually have an initiative with Telephone. We're starting to, we may take on their maintenance of their vehicles. So little things like that, that we're trying to get us all together.
Add to that, I think Birmingham's bus rapid transit system that we're in the process of building out right now is going to be a major transformational step forward. It's only 10.5 miles, this first phase of it, but it has the capacity to extend east and west to other municipalities. And if we can make that successful, surely there's a north-south complement to it. So if those things, we can get those things done, that is going to connect a lot of the major metro area.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. Shelby County just formed a mayor's association last week, and I got suckered into being the chair of it. Yay. No, I'm excited about that. But same, and so Frank's on that as well. So we do have a great network there and a great connection with the greater Birmingham region. The Birmingham Hoover Metropolitan Region. The Regional Planning Commission is also fantastic about bringing us all together to talk about the different areas of connectivity and how we can be stronger together, and as far as building a more comprehensive plan and a comprehensive network. And then transit system, I think exactly. I'm shocked that we have a transit system in Little Old Valley right now. So that's pretty huge. And while it is a pilot, they are talking about connectivity between Birmingham and Shelby County and other communities in Shelby County. So just the fact that we're all able to have all these conversations and keep the communication going and really listen to folks and respond to their needs, I think that's what's most exciting to me.
Any other questions?
You guys made a mistake because you let me have the microphone back. I'm ready this now. One for each of you. You can give quick answers if you'd like and get off the stage. Councilor Quinn, I'm going to just go right down the line. Is Wichita, Kansas passed a half-cent sales tax surcharge to fix the streets? It was a public referendum. They voted it on themselves because they wanted potholes to fix. They wanted the potholes fixed, but they said, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it as complete streets. Can you see a political future in which that could happen in Birmingham?
No.
Okay?
No.
No. Too bad. No, yours is easy, Mayor Brocato. Who pays to connect the sidewalks to the retail? You know, when you said that happens now with development, we're making. And are you guys ready to even think about mixed-use retail, like retail with some housing above or adjoining?
Yes, we are. We in the midst of developing a comprehensive plan.
Yep.
That will include that, because that's what you're going to need. You build these retail areas, but you got to have people there, living there. And that'll be a huge bridge for people who move across.
And that'll be your village center, though, won't it? That becomes your town center, doesn't it, eventually? Good for you. Congratulations. It sounds great. Dr. Smith, if I'm not mistaken, I heard you say that when the cave people speak up, you can't let them dominate the conversation, that indeed, if I'm paraphrasing now, sometimes you just have to do what's right for the greater good, not let those voices dominate the conversation. So my question to you really is, are you a socialist, actually? Or, did I hear you say the greater good, even at your own political expense, if I heard that right? And God bless you for that if your answer is yes.
I'm not sure what I said, but it sounded really good. You were being back. I hope I did say that, but it sounded good.
You did. I commend that, because that's a hard thing to do sometimes. Know that that's what's going to dominate the noise. The noise of the cave person is going to be what gets the coverage, but that you're willing to sort of think about the bigger picture.
It's hard for politicians to do that, because if you're enjoying being a politician, you feel like occasionally you get to do something worthwhile, then you want to worry about getting elected again too.
Yeah.
So you do have to listen to folks, even the gay people.
Yep.
They have good ideas too, kind of fun. But then, at the end of the day, you gotta make a decision to move on.
Congratulations. And Mayor Cost, first, just a mechanical question. About what age are those junior city councilors? You know, you said the junior city council. What age group are you targeting?
7th grade to seniors in high school.
Okay, so middle to high, basically. And have you had good response to that? Kids want to be involved?
They do. It's a small group, but they are very, very energetic and very dedicated.
Great. And then with respect to the rest of the panel, I say this with all due respect to the rest of the panel, how do we get more women elected to leadership positions and bring a broader perspective to some of the work that you're doing? Any advice to peers out here and the potential future peers in the audience?
I think we're moving in the right direction in terms of that. I'd love to see 50-50. I look around at the mayor's network in the state of Alabama, and if my numbers are correct, we have about 10% of the mayors in the state of Alabama are females. I don't know the answer to that. I've been fortunate in my respect because of the dynamics of our family. It works out that well, but in a lot of families, they're just not able to do that necessarily. I don't know the best answer to that, but I think some of it is a confidence issue. I mean, it's really tough to be a woman sometimes sitting up here with a man, and I'm kind of proud of myself when I grab that mic out of your hand. I mean, really, you should be. It can be intimidating being the only woman in the room because you do feel targeted in different ways, but you just, I guess, have to move past that, and I've had great male friends, just great support network. I'm fortunate in that respect. And I don't know, in Montevallo, we're a little weird. I mean, we're unconventional. We've had some strong leaders, female leaders in Montevallo, and it's fun to be a part of that network.
Let's hope you're just leading the way, that's all. You're just leading the way. Thank you guys very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
So, this has been, can y'all hear me in the back? No microphone? So this has been a really, thank you.
A really informative panel. I mean, you all have given us a lot of ideas about how to get things done, what it takes to get things done, where things are headed in the future, and it's been a lot to think about. So thank you all for the work you're doing and for this really informative panel, and if you'll join me in thanking our panel.